I'm always reminded, this is years ago, but I had a client where I had, over successive visits, I'd become familiar with the nature of their system and what they were doing. And they one day asked me, well, we love you to design this kind of like subsystem, and it's got these performance constraints and stuff like that. And we've got this suggestion for the basic idea of the design. And I kind of said, I don't think the memory manager is going to like that. I don't think that's going to work. I don't think it's going to meet the performance requirements that you need. I think there's going to be issues with it. And I made a suggestion, and they said, are you sure? And I said, well, I think this is going to work better. I think this will work better with memory allocation on this platform. I think that for the, you're dealing with peak. They basically wanted to deal with peak demand in some way. We can't handle all the data, but what we need to do is spool it off so we can handle data. And I said, I think the way I'm proposing will work this way. And then I tossed in another idea because I'm not really happy until I've got three ideas. So they gave me one. I had a preferred one. I didn't think theirs would work. I had a preferred one. And and then I had a third one, and I thought the third one was okay. I thought it was better than their suggestion, but I didn't think it was great. And they gave me a couple of days. They fed me coffee. Gave me a meeting room, all the rest of it. But my favorite thing is one of the guys came in one day, first or second day, and he came in and he saw I had an IDE on my screen. I had code. There were curly brackets happening. And he said, oh, we didn't expect you to code. And it's just, I kind of looked at it. It's just like, well, how do you think I was going to do this? Sit here and meditate for 3 days, and come up with the pure design, just moment of enlightenment. It's like, I have designed it. I have the architect. This is the matrix or whatever.
Here is the word.
Here is the solution. And it's just like, no, I'm trying each one of these out. I want to see what it feels like in code. And also I'm going to do some basic performance analysis. Not too big, just to get a kind of order of magnitude feel for the stuff. And I wrote it up. And the funny thing is I wrote it up, and it's only in hindsight that I realized I'd written it up like an experimental report. Here's the situation. Here's what we've got. Here's the various proposals. Here's how we've run it. And here's the results and recommendations for future work. But what I found is that I was right and I was wrong. I was right. Their approach wouldn't meet their requirements. I was also right that my preferred approach would meet their requirements. But I was wrong in that my kind of like third throwaway option, that was outstanding. It was way ahead of me. And I would not have known that by meditating upon it. That had to be made real. That had to be brought into the world.